6,000 people in the immediate area known as Tehachapi. I work as a photojournalist, a freelancer, for several newspapers, some out of the state, but primarily for the Bakersfield, Californian newspaper. They own the Tehachapi News, which is my biggest client because I live here in town. I am the only photojournalist here in this immediate area. So when something happens and I have a scanner and I do all that breaking news stuff, I'll roll out and take photos and write a story about it and submit it into Bakersfield, which is about 40 miles away, which is where the parent company is for Tehachapi News. And it will run in both Bakersfield, Californian and the Tehachapi News. The advent now of all of this coronavirus has shut down the town of Tehachapi. All of our normal tourist areas are closed. All of our public meetings are done teleconference, if at all. And that was a large part of my income, is the coverage of different events that takes place in town. So that's I'm out of work because I'm a freelancer.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Is as far as a freelancer, I'm curious because that's what I was wondering. If freelancers even would apply for the supposed $1,000 or whatever amount they're proposing to mail out. I mean, since we don't work for a quote company.
That's a very good question. I seriously doubt that we are even thought of in that context. As freelancers, we're under contract. We're contractors, but that doesn't mean that we're eligible for unemployment benefits or any kind of federal or state benefits during the virus. Now, one of our bigger problems that we're all facing as freelance journalists across the state of California is Assembly Bill number 5, which went into effect in January, where we as independent contractors cannot sell more than 30 stories a year to one client.
Wow.
And since my major client is the Bakersfield, Californian, I can sell 30 stories in 2 months.
Yeah.
So I will. So that too is now in effect. We're fighting that or trying to get that changed. It's a complicated idea as to why they did it in the first place, but that has affected photojournalism in our area. There's about 6 photojournalists that work in Kern County for the Bakersfield, California primarily, and we kind of geographically divide up the county and into those areas and respond if called upon or if we know of news happening. Before they do, we roll out and record it and send it in on contract for them to use if they choose to use it. Oftentimes we'll go out on our own and they don't use it. So there's all the gas and there's all the time and getting up out of bed at 2 a.m. because of some train accident or something, and they don't use it. It's their choice. That's the life of a freelancer.
Wow. So right now with the virus, are you getting any? Are you allowed to go out as such? Are they considering that, with the wording, it was like essential work. I don't know if they consider that essential work. I don't know.
Until Assembly Bill number 5, I would have thought the news was very essential work. That being said, no, there's no restrictions on us going out. We're independent contractors. We're not covered by any of their insurance or any of their requirements for safety. So it's all on our own. And I'm still going out. I've gone out a couple of times on, we have a major freeway in our town, or it goes through our city. And oftentimes big rigs will get into trouble and have accidents. So I'll go out and cover that and submit the story to the newspaper. And sometimes they'll use them and sometimes they'll not. Depends on their space and how bold the story may be. what is really lacking, the part that hurts the most, is we have so many. There's a word I'm looking for, and I can't recall type story, but it's a human interest story. We have kids that are holding an anti-bullying class taught by a local karate instructor here. How to defend yourself if you're bullied. We have symphony concerts. We have fiddling contests. We have speakers that come in for the Kiwanis and all of those kinds of meetings. They're all stopped. They're gone. And I used to cover a lot of that.
Right.
So the town is dead. There's just nothing going on. The museums are closed. The art galleries are closed. Anything at all that's a public gathering is closed, including the restaurants, of course.
Right.
Other than for takeout. So it's rather unique. It's about only the third. Well, we're just days into the stricter enforcement, and by enforcement, nobody's out arresting anybody or doing anything like that. Our town police takes it pretty serious. And, they listen. We're not gathering in groups. We're doing as much as we can by phone. It's a fine time for a contract photographer to clean up his files and get his studio in shape. So
right.
I'm trying to do that, get clean his equipment, inventory it. So there's plenty that we can do in the meantime, but there's no source of income.
Wow. But the landscape opportunities, did you get some of that snow early in the week because we had rain down here in the Los Angeles area, but it looked like the mountains.
We've had quite a fair amount of on and off snow storms this year. Sometimes we up here only get 1 or 2 a year. This year we've had maybe 5 or 6. So by being spaced out, it's a wonderful opportunity for cloud patterns and light patterns on the green hillsides and the oak trees in the mountains to get photos with and without snow. Part of my clientele will come this spring or early summer now probably. There are 3 different publishers up here that do visitors guides for people that are distributed to all the Chamber of Commerce offices all around the state for this area, and that's one of my bigger clients. 3 of them. All 3 of them like to buy my photos. So in order to do that, I have to go out and photograph. So this time, solo in my truck, not congregating with other people, I can get a lot of good pictorial landscape photos. So that's a payment yet to come, but that can be done. But I'm buying gas and driving and working just as hard for an unknown income.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure it could be a beautiful spring, I'm guessing, with a little bit of rains and the clouds have been incredible. So I'm curious, you may get some wildflowers, and you're right. I guess we'll just go out solo and have to collect our photos quietly on our own. How much do you think they're going to be enforcing in the more rural areas such as yours, as far as stopping people if you're just out photographing solo, obviously by yourself, not with a group or in large numbers, but just solo, and it looks like you're just photographing? How do you think that's going to go?
Well, we're a little new into the state mandate at the moment, but in our rural areas, I don't anticipate any issues at all in that sense. We still have stores that we can go to. We have drugstores and supermarkets that are open. We're allowed to go to those. We're allowed to go outside and walk up and down the streets if you wish. I live on a golf course. The golfers are out having a great time because they're 6 feet away from each other anyway.
Oh, that's great. I didn't even think. You're right. That's exercise and you're spread out. That's kind of a win-win.
Yeah, so I do see a larger amount of golfers since all of this has started. What will be interesting for all of us, of course, is how long will it last. It's predicting another 8 weeks minimum. I mean, easily. So I don't know. It's new ground, and photojournalists are there to cover it. I've taken several photos of signage on closed restaurants and businesses and hospitals and all that stuff. I'm trying to build a data bank to document what's going on in this area during this crisis. But again, I'm doing it as much solo as I can,
Right.
and for no money. There's no income, no guaranteed income from any of this
Right.
at this point.
But that is smart because you started your career, if I may, you've always kind of done a little bit of journalistic type work back from your early years, if I recall, from earlier conversations with you.
I did. My earlier career was commercials and television, and that taught me to have an eye for geography and to be able to tell a story quickly and in a short amount of time. Meaning, and we all know the adage, one photograph should tell the whole story if it's a good photograph. So I try to work towards that. Digital, of course, now, without having to buy film.
Right.
My shooting ratio has changed. It may have been with film maybe 1-3. Now it's 1-15.
Wow.
But I edit that on the computer. It gives me the opportunity to explore more of what I was trying to get in the first place. I've forgotten the question. Where were we headed?
Oh, I was just tapping into the fact that I think for a lot of people, we're not thinking about taking the photos of the closed businesses or, those of us that don't do as much photojournalism, but you've kind of always kind of paid attention to what's kind of going on from your standpoint to submit it to newspapers. So it may be a good time if people are out solo to collect some of those images to show. I mean, we have no idea how long this could go on, but it is a unique time in history. I think it's unprecedented in my lifetime to be in this situation.
Absolutely right. If there was any words of advice at all to your listeners, go out and solo and take your car and your camera and record what life is like now in a fairly deserted city or street where you live. Stay away from people as they were being requested to, but if you look out your window of your car, you'll see a lot of photojournalistic opportunities, and you can get out. You can walk to a closed storefront and take a picture of the signage, or maybe it's people lined up at their supermarket and you're in your car. Just drive your car alongside to a position where you can photograph from the car and snap a picture.
Mm-hmm.
Record this unique time in life. Someday, somewhere, these photos will be irreplaceable. They're not thought of much now, but later.
I agree. I think it is a unique opportunity that my listeners and everyone should think about is just, you're right, get out and record some of it because it's a changing world.
I don't think there's a photographer listening to you today that didn't get hooked on photography because of the old images of things, the dirigible blowing up and the poverty of the San Joaquin Valley and the Opis and all of that. That's what got them probably hooked and interested in photography in the first place. Well, if nobody went out and took those photos, they wouldn't be there for us for the future.
Mm-hmm.
So record what you see. Get out and video-wise, too, now, little home videos of your community. Someday, somewhere, those are going to be irreplaceable.
Yeah, those are smart words, definitely. So where do you think this is going to put tourism for a community of your size, say 6 months from now? Do you think it's going to come back? Any just thoughts of your own on that? Anything you've been hearing from the newspapers? Are we going to still have newspapers? Is this really going to be a huge dent?
It's an interesting thought. I'm sure we're going to bounce back. We always do. We always have. To what degree? I think everything will be normal this time next year if there's no other kinds of pandemics or any of that. but it's going to take a long, slow recovery. News journalism is taking a lot of attacks by the current administration and the presidency. In some ways, it has woken up journalists to be even more accurate and photographers to be more accurate. In other ways, it also, the digital revolution has opened up a lot of wannabe journalists and photographers that don't get the whole story before it's really sent out on some social media, and that's an issue. That's a bad issue.
Mm-hmm.
I think that will continue, and we may see more of it because people are looking for some sensational thing to put on YouTube, and they may have manufactured some of that sensationalism.
Yeah.
And of course, newspapers don't want any of that. You got to be dead accurate and dead on, and stand by your sources. So, yeah, we'll survive. The news media will survive. Will it be in print or will it be in all digital? I think there'll still be a combination of both.
That's interesting. Thank you for those questions and answers, Nick. I really very much appreciate it. So,
well, I'm always flattered when you call for your podcast, and it must be very difficult for you as a tourist-oriented photographer with clients. There aren't any right now, so I would presume.
Yeah, right now it's a struggle. I think people are just in a holding pattern. So I'm really working on some self-drive itineraries just for when people feel comfortable with that, or just some scenic drives that, again, I don't know. I think there's some people will feel comfortable at least attempting to just go out and take a short drive. Maybe it's a scenic drive in a rural area and point the camera out the window or pull over a couple of times solo. Other people may really feel a little bit, like that's not the best approach right now. So, but at least maybe they'll be looking for that information come fall or summer when, it's hard to say how long before the airlines are, all of that's so maybe more where people feel like keeping it small with a couple people taking a road trip or family vacation. So that's what I've been kind of working on at the present time, and hope people will check out my website and look into that. And so
well, it's a great thing that you do. You have a great website. People should look into it and plan for the future in 8 or 10 months, and start booking up some of that time to get out and practice more. In the meantime, record what's going on in your life and in your families photographically, and hang on to that because it's going to be important someday.
I agree. So are there activities in the fall up in Tehachapi that we should maybe just keep hopeful that will happen? I think in the fall, is that when you do some of the wine walks and fall activities?
There is. Most things now, everything now is canceled up through July.
Okay.
For sure. We probably have 75 or 80 events a year up in this area for tourists to come to. That may be a high number, but it's close. Between the wineries, we have one of the major bicycle events up here in the Grand Fondo. That's in, I believe, September.
Oh.
If that's held, that's over 2,000 people that come in to ride bikes through the countryside or on the wind turbines and all of that. Don't know if that's going to happen this year. It's a lot of money, a lot of income for this community.
Yeah.
It may go away. We have quite a dance contest that is held every end of August, somewhere along in there. Western Swing, and that brings up 500 or 600 people to swing dance for 3 days. So there are those kinds of events that are being talked about. Of course, the Tokyo Olympics probably is going to go away. So
yeah.
we're nothing compared to that.
No.
Still, for a community that relies on tourists to some degree, it's a tough one.
Yes. Well, thank you, Nick, so much for joining me today. I'm going to tell goodbye to my listeners and tune in the next few days. I'm going to continue to give some photographers, as I mentioned, a call from across the United States to see what's happening and see what their thoughts are. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. So let me end this portion. Take care, everyone, and hope you'll take a listen in the coming days.
Keep shooting.
Hey, Nick, you still there?